Hello Dojo friends! Thanks for watching this video. I hope that you are all enjoying a 4th of July holiday weekend and you're relaxing, or maybe you're at work, killing time somewhere, I don't know. Here is an old book we're going to go over. Not this one. This is the one I showed last time. This was Ninjutsu, the Art of the Invisible Warrior, which I bought for $9.95 from Kmart back in 1986 when I was 16 years old. This is the original copy. You can see it's all stained and everything, and the pages are all old. This is a good book. This is one of the first ones that I ever owned on the Art of the Ninja by one of my teachers, Stephen Hayes. That's not the one we're going to go over. We did a video on that. Let's look at this one. This is called The Ancient Art of Ninja Warfare by the same author, Mr. Hayes. Let me get some light here so you can all see a little bit better. And I bought this book for $9.95, which back then for a little teenage kid was a lot of money. And this one was published in 1988, so when I was 18 I bought this. It's a beautiful cover. Mr. Hayes in Japan here in what we call Doko no Kamai. Really attractive cover, nice and colorful. So again, as a kid who was fascinated by the ninja and samurai, I wanted that book. And we couldn't order them. There was no Amazon or internet or anything like that, so we had to go to the store and hope that the store carried these. And I think that the Kmart near us had them. I don't think Walmart was around back then. So here's the book, signed by Mr. Hayes. I don't know when, probably at some seminar years later. So let's go over this quickly. It's a short book. It's only about 100 pages long. He was cranking these out probably one, maybe even two a year at that particular time when the demand really wanted to see these ninja books. And you have some information here. Line drawings were done by Greg Manches. I've met him several times. He's a good artist. And the kanji were drawn by his wife, Rumiko Hayes. So anything in here, a lot of line art. It says this book is dedicated to the brave resistance fighters of the Tibetan Chushigangdrug, who fought to repel the invaders from their mountain homeland on the rooftop of the world. May the spirit of your struggle yet bear fruit someday in the future. Sadly, I don't think that's happened. So we have the contents here, the preface. History behind the history, religious and spiritual influences, ninja combat tools, espionage networks, guerrilla warfare techniques. Here's a nice line drawing of Mr. Hayes by Greg right there, holding a kunai. Of course, we're not going to go over every page, but... So he starts out by talking about the ninja to kind of get the reader involved. Ancient art of ninja warfare. Here's a nice photo of Mr. Hayes in Japan, sitting against a large piece of stone there. You can see him here in this kind of gasho no kamai prayer posture. History behind the history. Some old history about the Japanese ninja. Talking about schools and scrolls of authority. Now, talking to Mr. Hayes decades later, he would have rewritten some of this, and he may still go back, I'm not sure, and rewrite some of these books or republish them. It's quite possible, but he doesn't agree, I don't think, with everything in here because, of course, as you get older, you learn more, things change, your opinions change. I'm sure Mr. Hayes, as any of us do that write or do music, we would do it all over if we could. So here we are. Here's Mr. Hayes with some students out in the woods working on some meditation. Here he is using Koppo Jitsu and kicking an opponent there. Talking about Taijutsu, the art of using the body. Here's some cool pictures from that same photo session, it looks like. This book, he goes over Bojutsu a lot, the art of the staff, 6-foot staff, Rokushakubo, and in some cases the Sanshakubo. So here he is. Here he's talking about the ninja sword and how it was different than a typical katana. Kusari Dogo, he's talking about chain weapons here, the Kusari Fundo. Here he holds a Kyoketsu Shoge, which is another old ninja weapon. Really cool pictures here. The Shuriken. Over here, a couple paragraphs of Sojitsu, which is the art of fighting with the spear. Naginata, polearm of the samurai. All kinds of different subjects. Talking about Tanegashima, the rifles of Japan. Hensojitsu, Shinobi Aruki, walking. Suiren, which is water movement. Boryaku, which is tactics. Let's see. Choho, secret investigators. Intonjitsu, concealment. Here's a drawing by Greg of a ninja in Ichimonji no Kamae. Pretty cool. And earthly forces, heavenly forces. Here he is with a wall of smoke and a smoke bomb. Again, all this stuff as a child was so wonderful to see. It was so inspiring. This was our internet back then. This was our Twitch. This was our YouTube. Just pictures and text. And you had to fill all this in with your imagination. And he goes into the spiritual influences of Shinto and Buddhism and the parts of Japan that kind of intertwined in with the samurai and ninja. They were inextricably woven into all of the warfare tactics of Japan. So he talks about Tenchi Jin, the power of heaven, earth, and humankind. He goes over Buddhism here and what these various statues mean. These are all statues that have tons of representation built into them. They're symbols and everything means something. Like Fudo Myo and Amida, a lot of different statues. Here's talking about Tungo and thunderbolts here, the Sanko, the Doko, the Goko, the different types of thunderbolts that these warriors would carry and what they mean. The protective power of the spirit, the thunderbolt. And then he goes into Kujikiri here, the symbols of power and intention of the ninja. And this is Mrs. Hayes' hands clearly doing these Kuji-in. Hyaijitsu, he talks about the spirit of intention which we use in our dojo. The idea of screaming at the opponent and harmonizing your fear and scaring the opponent. Then he goes into chapter 3, we're on page 27, ninja combat tools. And here he does concentrate mainly on the Rokushaku bow here. So he's showing the different kamae of the bow. We just did these a few weeks ago. How to hold the staff, how it's different from Okinawan bow staff fighting. The particular school that we study, the Kukishin, talks about distancing against a swordsman. You don't want to get close, so it's not a medium, it's a long distance weapon. And all of these katas here, he's showing some basic strikes with the bow. Bofuri, how to spin the staff. Of course, it's hard to tell with photos how to do that. You really need video. But again, as a kid, I would go outside with a staff and try to spin it as best I could, copying these photos one at a time. Of course, making a million mistakes. Here, Ichimonji no Kamae, big Bofuri over the head. Couple techniques here against a sword with a couple students there, talking about footwork, how important that is with distancing, the ma'ai. So, gosh, we used to spend hours just trying to figure out what they were doing in these photos. Now, these are all in black and white. These are poor quality photos, and Mr. Hayes would agree. If he had re-shot these now, he would have a student in a white uniform and he would be in black so that the contrast could pick it up. And of course, these photos aren't the best quality in black and white, but it keeps the book cost down. So he's just going over a lot of Bojutsu here. Really cool photos. Probably somewhere up in the Dayton area where he lives. Gosh, so cool to go back and look at these when he was a young man, probably in his 30s there, maybe 40s. Here he is using the bow in close quarter combat, so you can also use it against unarmed attackers. If you were perhaps a guard at a castle, you might be dealing with people without a weapon. Has a massive advantage over unarmed persons. Really fun stuff. Then he goes over the kunai, which was a ninja tool, not as much a weapon. You could hit with it, of course, but the kunai, as you know from manga and anime here, is a digging tool, or it could pry open doors, it could leave messages. Here it is tying a rope, so it's a tripwire. And of course you could use it to stab or pinch or smash the opponent. And he's showing some kamae, waki no kamae, ichi, tenchi, seigan, jumonji, all these stances, which are the first things you learn in combat, is how to stand and hold your kamae. And really cool pictures. I know I'm going quick. And then he gets into moving, rolling with the kunai, getting inside the attack of the swordsman, trying to get close because it's a close weapon. Here's Sean Havens striking in with the kunai there. Really fun pictures to look at. Of course, they pad the book. You look at all these photos and your page after page, your book gets really thick, but it's not text, it's mostly photos, but that's how you had to translate the stuff back then. Kunai against Longstaff. I like the idea of him combining the two different weapons in the book and putting them against each other, so that the two warriors here are pitted against each other. One is a short weapon and long, and again, it's all about distancing and timing, footwork. Really nice to see. Pinching, koshijutsu here. These kind of get repetitive for you watching because you can't really see what's happening, and I'm of course going too fast. Look at how all the pages are worn from time, with all yellowed here. Then he goes into ninja espionage networks, laying the groundwork to facilitate defeat of the enemy, which was what was known by shinobi. You have to remember that each samurai faction would have a couple shinobi working for them, intelligence gatherers from Iga, Koga, and other places, that their job was to gather intelligence and to find out about the enemy. Many ninja were samurai, and they were part of the system. Here he is going over the hierarchy of this imaginary ninja family here. These photos are drawings are by Greg. That's pretty interesting. So he's talking about the Jonin, who's the top leader, and then the Chunin, the middlemen, the management, and then the Geinin, which are the operatives that go out and do things. And were they one and the same? Were they actual samurai warriors? Were they hired assassins? All kinds of different things to contemplate as a teenager back then. Our imaginations went crazy. Using the shadow, the kunoichi, talking about female ninja and their use in espionage. Preparing the kunoichi, applying the kunoichi, separating the kunoichi agents, ordinary people. Satobito no Jitsu, using village people to help you out with information. Worming into the center, it's pretty cool. Lockpicking skills. False reflection, all kinds of strategy here of shinobi no mono. A couple of old prints. Talking about the double agents, inside and out, failure of combat strategies, failure of missions, being a double agent. Really cool. Echoing techniques. Ninja guerrilla warfare tactics, explaining a bit more how to get amongst the enemies and find out information. Here we have a couple of Sengoku period ninja and how they actually did dress. They weren't in these kind of kabuki costumes that you see from the 50s and 60s. They were actually looked like regular Japanese people. Really a nice book here, really quick. It's only 100 pages long, a little bit over. Here's a Kaginawa, which is another ninja tool it's basically a grappling hook with a rope, so you can hook up onto ceilings and rafters and trees and rooftops. And a couple of pretty famous ink drawings. Takasago here, Jiraiya, famous ninja figures. More tactics. And then in the end here he talks about training opportunities, which attracted me. This is when I started to go to his seminars. He had something called the Shadows of Iga Society, which a few of you out there who are older might have belonged to. He started this in 1975. I joined it in 81 or 82 when I was 11. And I started to travel to Ohio in my mid-teens and moved to Ohio in 1999. Never stopped studying once. I've been studying constantly, daily, since that time, 1980s. But this is all we had. There was no internet, remember. Again, look, it says he conducts training seminars and workshops in North America, Europe, and Japan. If you want experience and you want to learn about the Shinobi Warrior, you are encouraged to become part of the Shadows of Iga Society. And you mailed a letter to the Shadows of Iga, which was in Kettering at the time. And then you'd wait. You'd wait weeks, months, and all of a sudden something would come back. And then you'd get involved with the Musubi Journal. And then you would see the seminars listed. You'd save up the money, get a job, get 2 jobs, and you would fly out to Ohio, in my case from Massachusetts or wherever all over the world. Or you would drive out there. You'd spend 3-4 days with intense training every day, all day and night. You'd often camp overnight, train with Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, and then you go home and implement this with whomever you could find to train with around your neighborhood. So there is The Ancient Art of Ninja Warfare. You might be able to still find this book on eBay now. I don't know what it costs now. It's long out of print. So that's a beautiful book from the early to mid 1980s by Stephen Hayes. Treasures in my collection. I'll never sell these. I'll keep these forever. And this is another one here. Aren't they cool? This is all we had back then. So when I see this stuff, I am reminded of how fortunate you and I are to have this wonderful internet, this network of information, regardless of how much is incorrect. We are so fortunate to have all of these things on the internet in PDF form or free, or you can still find this physical media to cherish on your bookshelf and perhaps give away to the next generation. There you go. Ninja Warfare. I want to thank you all for watching this kind of dry video on this book, but ninja and samurai enthusiasts such as myself love this type of geeky stuff. Everyone have a great July 4th. We're going to be closed on Monday and Tuesday. We'll reopen on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to a couple days off with family at home where I can rest for a while, and we'll be back in action on Wednesday. We'll see everybody soon. Thank you for watching. Take care and have a great July 4th. Bye-bye.